we go. I'm in. I'm well. How are you?
Doing well. Sorry
All
about that.
right.
Still learning.
Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We saw you were on yesterday for the marketing. Was it helpful? Was it good?
Oh yeah, that was awesome. In fact, I was talking to Emma about it last night, and there I didn't catch the very beginning of it, but so much of it is was such great information. It's like I don't know, a lot of breakthroughs one after the next in that. So that was super duper helpful. I think that utilizing those types of things, especially for our where
Mm,
we are in our business could make a big impact just because we rely so much on our digital marketing and the social media and just understanding how the reviews work. So, yeah, that was great. I'm going to review the whole thing because I missed the beginning, like I said, but appreciate it.
yeah, awesome. Good. Well, I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, Olivia will be posting the thing again, so
I'm just gonna.
you'll be able to go back and watch it anytime you want.
Yeah,
And
it's already in.
oh, it's already in the, okay, she said it's already in there.
Awesome.
Plus we'll get the slides too.
Yes, yeah. No process.
Yes, the slides. Yeah, I mean, we were thinking in hindsight, I wish that we had done part one and part two because there was so much information on
Yeah,
those later slides that he was, had to move through really quickly. We could have had an entire second one.
Yeah.
We might have him on again to
yeah,
talk
we might
about
have
those
them on
things.
again. Especially because there was a lot of people that had questions, so that was good.
Yeah. And social media is, I don't know, so overwhelming.
Mhm.
I don't know if you feel that way, but you just get inundated with ideas of
Yeah.
people that are like, do this, do this, do this for all different social media platforms. And then you think there are just strategies for every single one of them. And it's overwhelming.
So overwhelming, I dish it off to Emma. But then, then I come in and say, "Oh, hey, check it out. Here's how often we should be posting, and here's what we do." It's like, okay, well, maybe you want to help me out with that.
I know.
So yeah, it was a lot of stuff. But I think that just that initial a few of those things about the reviews and responding to reviews, understanding like the keyword searches, and just even understanding how it works was really helpful just to begin implementing a plan. You don't have to like go all in right off the bat, but just a few little moves and you start building it up.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. All right. I'm going to have you join so that we can share your screen.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. We will get started here.
So were you able to get all of your 23 information added yet? Are you still working on that?
I'm still very much working on it, unfortunately, but we're moving. We're moving, but we got a few different. Yeah, we have to provide some things for Q1 to SBA, so we've had to shift a couple things because that's supposed to happen in a few days. So right now we have a kind of a heavy. We have a lot on our plate right now, so we're working on it.
Okay. So today's, you got the handouts for today?
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
And so I don't see Julie with us today, right?
I don't see her yet. No.
So today we were just, so on our agenda was to go through each attendees, what they had for their owner's comp, what their calculations were, and go through the bank accounts for each individual. Because like I said, sometimes they're different. I mean, we have more than just the five. There are the five that we recommend, but then depending on your business, like for you, for instance, you probably need an equipment account that you're trying to save money for.
Yes.
And a savings account obviously would be another one. And then whatever else is important to you.
Yes.
But since we don't have your percentages,
We can talk a little bit.
I can't get in.
Carrie keeps trying to get in the meeting and her computer won't let her in at all. Oh my gosh, you have to love technology.
Yeah, I'm not sure that okay, so when you're the sheet that you're looking at, I have downloaded a different one from the email,
Okay.
which is so there was a path to profitability week 4 working papers PDF that I downloaded.
Okay.
And that on my end, it begin at the very top, it says rollout plan.
Yes.
And And is that what I'm kind of clicking around on one screen, so maybe I'll get my second screen going, but I'm not sure if that's the one that you're looking at.
Yes, no, it is. I
Oh,
have
okay.
all the working papers in front, so I'm scrolling back through some of the ones that we've already kind of gone through. But we sent out rollout plan, the custom bank accounts. We sent out, a script for calling the bank, and then some profit first friendly banks. So we can go over those things, but we can also move back into, these are just
Recording in progress.
notes. Okay, perfect. And like go through the owner's comp calculate. We can go through any of these. The assessment, we went through these specifically. I referenced them, but very briefly in a format like this. And we went through them more in an Excel spreadsheet. One of the things, so we have a lot of flexibility today. We can go through questions, we can go through specific numbers, or we can move ahead to some new information. What would you prefer to do?
Well, I figure that, I really wish I had all this stuff. So, I mean, like I said in the beginning, when I volunteered, I really wished I had everything going. So I'm like, man, this is a great opportunity just to get this done and make sure it's done right. So I wish I had that info, but I suppose that you've already basically gone. I hear my son in the background. He's going to be playing with a plane, but in the last meeting, you essentially went through. I don't know if you have the ability or if you've already done this, where you go through some documents that would be sample documents and maybe show how these come up, or if that's actually been done in the meetings. Just what would be really helpful for me is kind of seeing a step by step of how the percentages are put together, if you have a sample to do it, but or if that's just really easy once you have the right documentation. So that's a part of it. Kind of like when you look at these, say like when I'm looking at the percentages that you have right here, just making sure I understand how, like, where those are being derived, how those are being derived from the paperwork that I was supposed to bring, or that I wish I had. And then from there, I think I get the kind of mentality behind how to look at your existing percentages and then to kind of start being conservative about your goals in the future. So I think I understand that, but I guess I'm not. I guess maybe, is it really easy just once you have like a appropriate P&L and balance sheet and everything, that you just be able to, those percentages are just kind of going to exist on those sheets? Is that where they reside, or where you're getting them from?
So you want to go back to the sample company. And so the Excel plug and play that Katie created, you should have a copy of. So that's where you'll just put your numbers in there and it'll calculate the percentage for you.
Okay.
But we had, I don't know, it was a couple of sessions back where she had the sample.
Yeah, I'll pull a sample company.
Yeah, if you want to, yeah.
And again, I don't want you to do something that you've already done. If it's just something I can review, then that's cool. But that's where my mind is a little bit hazy, is I kind of felt like we were given the plug and play. We understand kind of how to generate those things, but then the actual
pull in the numbers,
getting those percentages. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a gap in my mind.
Okay.
That's great. That's useful to know, because we need to know that.
Yeah.
It's not gonna hurt anything for us to go look at this. It's
because you have a question, then somebody else probably does too.
Yes. Yes, and we can talk about some of them that can be restaurant specific. So I will go ahead and find my sample company and then pull them up here.
There's nobody else on the call, right, Olivia?
No, I don't believe there is.
No. Do we still have access to his company?
We do.
Do you mind if we pull up your company? I know the numbers are going to be right, but at least we can show you the P&L and where to look for this stuff.
Absolutely. That would be great. And in fact, I have like, Yeah, I have a P&L and a balance sheet that I sent to SBA for 2023 that's just not right at all.
Yeah.
So I do have that.
Okay.
And so if we even looked at that, I could even kind of email that over to you like really quickly, or you can pull it up if you have access to it. You can just pull it up yourself.
I think I do have access to it. If you,
Okay.
whichever you're comfortable with, you can email it to me. But
Yeah, that would totally work for me.
okay, well then let me get out of this company and I'll go into your company.
I might put on a little something for my son too,
That's fine.
just so that the dinosaur sounds are coming consistently. One sec.
Okay. Very sweet. And there we
Sheet, okay, no. I can just pull up, you want me to pull up the balance sheet and you,
go. Sure.
and then we can switch back and forth.
Even the work paper for just calculating owner's pay might be more helpful than the balance sheet, you think?
Um,
Or are you
The
pulling
work-
something else off the balance sheet?
the work, like the one that you made.
The well, it's this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and just so you know, I honestly, if this is just to make it official, if you want to record anything and let other people watch it, it doesn't, unless you advise me against that. I have no problem with that if that's going to help other people in the group.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I know little enough about business to not even know when I'm supposed to hide things and when I'm not supposed to. So that's where I am.
Yeah, I don't think we have any of your like EIN or personal information. Just-
Okay, cool.
No.
Open up in just a minute. One of the things that we can look at specifically when we pull the reports is for you, it might be beneficial as you're considering opening bank accounts to open one bank account that is for your cost of goods sold, like your supplies for food.
Mhm.
That way you have a living, breathing budget in the bank that is specifically for your food costs. So if the food
Okay.
is supposed to be 30%, you'll just put 30 cents on every dollar into that account. And if there is a problem, it'll be easily identifiable specifically for that one. You could have a separate bank account too for labor costs. And we could
Okay. Those seem like two things that would be really key for me. And while we're talking about it, one of the questions I have is, let's say you go over budget on one of those things. What is the procedure eventually that has to come out of whatever accounts for kind of my pocket. I would imagine if we're doing everything right, but it is, in the real world, of course, there's going to be, and especially in the beginning, there's going to be times when things are going to fluctuate, and all of a sudden it's going to be 35%. And then what is the kind of right way to approach that?
So when you're first starting out, your percentages are what they are. And so if you're trying to get a percentage, let's say your cost of goods is 60% and you want to get it down to 50%. At first, you can't go from 60 to 50 and just say, I'll just do that. That's not gonna happen. You're always gonna be over. So the goal would be to see how much you can realistically cut each month. Like, can you cut, like cutting 10% might not be realistic, but maybe you can cut 2%. And over the course of 6 months, get down to that 10%. So if you're going over, then you need to look at your expenses and see what you can cut, what you absolutely don't need, that you can do without. Maybe you can find cheaper, whatever it is. But until if you do happen to go over, that would come out of, I mean, it really can't come out of your labor because you're going to need your labor too. And a labor is going to be another one where you're probably going to be over what you need to be. Especially in a restaurant, it's always labor and food costs. So if that's one you need to cut too, it's the same thing. You can't cut labor from 50% to 30% in a month. So you would just need to slowly, realistically put that percentage in a dollar amount and say, okay, 1% is $1,000. I need to cut $1,000 by the next month or next 6 weeks or whatever, off of my budget. And if you do go over, then I would say you take that out of the profit account or savings if you have it.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of my question is like, just to clarify. So there's something that sounds, and I know that we wouldn't set ourselves up to like bounce a check. But when I think about preemptively, like let's say I have 2 weeks and I'm I have 2 weeks of my sales coming in from my POS. I'm putting 35, maybe it's been 40%, right? And I'm putting 40% in there, and then big bills come out, and then big bills are being paid out of that, right? To the distributor or to the vendors, what have you. And all of a sudden, I don't have enough money in that account to pay for what I've projected it's going to cost, right? So I guess I'm just trying to understand kind of how the bank accounts are linked up in such a way that, or do I just have to be keeping, in such a way that I'm not, falling short somewhere. I don't write a check that's going to bounce or something like that, because even though the past 6 months I've been running it, say 35 or 40%, and that's what I have in the account, all of a sudden this month something changes. So I'm kind of just keeping an eye. I'm wondering how that is managed, where I'm kind of predicting what I'm going to need in each account, and what if my prediction is off and I've changed it a little bit.
Yeah, you can have the bank set up. I think it depends on the bank too, but you can have them set up for overdraft coverage. So, I think you can have it set up where they'll pull from one account to cover the other, and you would want to set it up probably to come from profit if that account has a percentage going into it to cover in case one of the other ones were to overdraw, which is what's happening anyway. When food costs go up unexpectedly, it's eating into the profit of the business. It's just that you don't normally know until you close the books and review the reports. And so then you find out when you're done closing it and it's a month or 2 months out. Whereas, if you do this in the bank account, you'll know right then immediately, because the account will get low or it will overdraw, and then you'll have a big draft come out of the profit. So you're getting it in real time instead of the historical information, even like with a month or two of lag time.
Yeah, so if you see your account where you normally are going along and it's been fine, because take into consideration, this works, except for, I would say, this is kind of iffy for businesses just starting out, because the historical information, that's why we take 2 years plus the year to date, is because because we know businesses fluctuate, but that's your percentage over time. So it's going to be high some months, that percentage is going to be high, it's going to be low some months, but it should be enough in there that it's always has enough. So if you see, like, as you're going along and you see, like Katie said, oh, my account's really low, why are my bills so high this month? Then you can look at it right then and be like, okay, what's going on? Did I get overcharged? Did I bought something extra? What's going on? And then you can make the adjustment from another account. But I would say, that's not the norm, is to constantly pull from other accounts, because otherwise, why are you doing it? You're just gonna move money around all the time, and that's not the goal. What's really hard in your situation is you are a new company, so your historical data when you're first starting a company is wonky, because you don't know. It could be really good, it could be really bad, but over the course of time you will level out. And I would say you're probably about, because what is this, going into your second year?
Yeah, that we are going to be at 1 year on the 6th of July.
Okay, so you still are you're still in that phase. So I would say we need to look at your numbers quarterly
And
to keep,
if we're making recommendations, what we want to do with you, because we have the time to do it, is to dive into the numbers with the historical information you have, but also pair that with, you have dialed into let's talk specifically food costs, some of your food costs specifically because you built the menu and you're very aware of what the menu is. So, we want the historical information. We want to know how much of a percentage you're spending on food. We want to know how much of a percentage is your goal to spend on food. And then probably we would recommend adding like 5% to that if possible, so that you account for fluctuations before they happen. And then we
Gotcha.
have more historical information and whether or not we were right in adding that extra 5%, or if we were still off, and if we were, why? Because that considers what you've actually spent in the past, but also what your goal is to spend, like what you're thinking that the menu costs are for all of the food. So if you're thinking that the food cost should be 30%, and we add an extra, the historical information shows that to be true around there, we add an extra 5% and it ends up being over 40, then somewhere we need to dive into the menu and see what's happening. Is there one specific item that is selling the most and it has a lower profit margin than others? Maybe. And then do we need to add a side that has a higher profit margin to pair with that instead, or run
because
a
you
special?
you already have the software that gives you your percentage on your food costs, right?
That's right. Yeah. So we've been learning about what we do have down pretty well is what I've heard referred to as our theoretical food cost, which is that in a perfect world with zero waste, what the food cost of each of the dishes is. What I don't have, which is the important part, is the actual food cost, which is how much money am I spending on food divided into my sales, right? And so this is, and I'm actually the software that I upgraded to is going to have the ability to start generating that information more, not just with QuickBooks, but also with regard to like taking my sales and inputting it into the recipe management system, and it's going to start generating like easy to read graphs that show what the profitability is for each of the items.
Okay. Yeah.
That's coming. We just have to set it up. We only like got it going earlier this month, and we haven't got all the
Yes, because
pieces
that's
put
going to
into
be very
place.
information, because if you show in that software that your food cost is, say 30%, but in real numbers, it's 40%, then you got a 10% waste or theft somewhere.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Or, or we need to, and, we'll need to go back through and fine comb through all of our recipes, which is, and make sure that all of those things are up to date with the pricing. I mean, we bought a case of chicken recently, and I was like, whoa, that cost me $91. It was costing $77 recently. This software actually tracks that in real time. So now I upgraded to the part where I don't have to look anymore. It does that on real time. So okay, yeah, that's okay, cool. That's when you said about having an extra 5% in there, that makes sense to me, because I mean the way that right now we have it is I kind of have like, I have the one bank account like a lot of people do. I have like a certain amount of money that I would just say this is zero. When it gets to this amount of money, $5,000, let's say, then that means I have zero money. Let's make sure we're always above that, because I wanted to have that cushion, and I was trying to figure out how that cushion would work with regard to the various bank accounts. But the idea of having overdraft set up from, let's say, the savings, which would be the $5,000 or what have you, that seems like the way I'd want to do it.
Yeah, if 5,000 is your cushion that makes you feel safe, then I would go ahead and move that 5,000 into a savings account.
And connect that with as an overdraft.
As the overdraft, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Because I was thinking, my labor, I just hired some people, so my labor just went up, like $800. And the thing is, it's pretty consistent. Now it's like, okay, cool. I just hired somebody. It went about $800 higher, and it's almost exactly $800 higher this next pay period, and I'm expecting it to be about that. And now I'll know, but I was thinking about the week beforehand.
as I'm putting money, or the couple weeks beforehand as I'm putting money into an account, and then I have my payroll coming out, how is it that I'm trying to manage that? So that makes sense to me.
Okay.
So thank you for that explanation.
No problem. Okay, so we have pulled so I just wanted to go through. I went into the reports. I chose the profit and loss specifically and chose the reporting period as last year. And then I chose your accounting method as cash.
Okay.
Nicest way that you can pull. So if you have your data in QuickBooks, even if this data needs to be tweaked, this is still some kind of real data that's been entered. The easiest way to tell percentages of what's currently happening is to select the percentage of income on the compare another period and then run the report on a cash basis. So you can see the amount of cash that came in and out of the bank account in this time frame. So you can see what we were talking about, or what we're talking about when we talk about the profit first percentages and where you're inputting percentages and numbers. The total revenue, the top line revenue is this total income. Then we have the cost of goods sold, which is the materials and subcontractors.
Do you allow screen sharing for everybody?
Yes. I think I even have simultaneous screen sharing on, which I've never done.
Do you know how to do that, Olivia?
Mary wants to share her screen.
Can I share my screen too?
Yeah.
I would say we're fairly tech savvy until
You're getting there. Yeah. You're going to go split screen on this thing. Whoa.
Okay. You can't see mine, right?
I don't see yours at the moment. No.
I don't see
I've
it.
never done simultaneous, so I was kind of wondering how it was going to work out.
I didn't even know you.
Oh, Olivia can. So is it something that they have to share multiple? You have it?
I don't know. How are you able here?
Oh, there's a thing.
There's
a thing at the top that's two different ones.
I am screen sharing. I don't know. Okay, do you want to just share your screen and I will stop sharing my screen and you can share your screen?
My workaround with simultaneous screen sharing is just opening up two tabs and toggling between them on one screen share.
You know what? You're so smart. I actually have that up right now and I could be.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I'll stop my share then.
But I didn't think of that because we were concerned with simultaneous screen sharing.
So yeah, so what she was saying, that top line revenue right here is that gross profit there.
Okay, great.
And the materials and subcontractors, it's just one cell. But what I was saying before, which I actually only do occasionally, but is a good idea, is you can break out your materials and subcontractors either as a lump sum as your total cost of goods sold, or like this is just a guide. We could break out a line item and see your actual percentage on food cost and on labor right here before we even, instead of putting it in one. So your total cost of goods sold is what would go in that cell, and it would be the 70,369. But I also know, because I can pull it on the P&L and do the percentage of income comparison, that the percentage that you've spent on your cost of goods sold was 48.94%. And that way I know that your gross profit is 51.06%. So we can pull that out into a spreadsheet because we want to see specific information. We don't want to see this many line items because it can be confusing, but we want to see some of them and the percentages. But you can also pull this information in QuickBooks whenever you want.
Mm-hmm. So what is your percentage on your food costs in your software?
Yeah.
What does it say? What do you guys have it set at?
Well, I don't see like an average percentage across in there. So I might have access to that, but I've never accessed that. If we do have access of like across the board, when we look at our dishes, we try not to break the 30% range. Occasionally we'll have something 31 or 32, but then we hope to those to be balanced out by the things that are much, like there's a big difference between selling a chicken fried steak for $15, which is a high cost item on our end, than a waffle,
right?
Has a really, and I would say when it comes to the things that we're breaking down, for us in particular, and this might be helpful for is it Julie I'm trying to make sure I remember her name, Julie, because she has retail. I'd be really interested in the 3 divisions I would want that would be interesting to me that would be under that would be retail, coffee, and then restaurant.
Yeah.
And we didn't figure out how to break those down. And then I don't think that would be too cluttered, but it would be relevant for me to be able to kind of look at those things because I putting those all together into one would be a little bit muddling for me to try to make changes.
Right.
So-
And keep into account too, like this packaging and disposables, that probably is not, I'm sure is not counted for in your software as part of your food costs. Because you're just doing,
Right.
So that's an extra, almost 3% that you're going to add
Yeah.
to the food cost too.
Yeah. That's a place I know already we have to work on because 40 cents for a to-go box is
Yeah.
just eats right into it. You know what I mean? So, okay. But in general, when you're looking at equipment and that line, equipment and contractors, then we're essentially looking for me would be total cost of goods sold.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think it's most helpful to just break this stuff out now while we're initially talking about it. So if it was me, I would want not just one lump sum for cost of goods sold. I would want one line item where I add restaurant food supplies, packing and disposables, and the total coffee percentage all in one. And then break out if you have, retail supplies is small, but break it out into the 3 that you want to see.
Mhm.
Not
Okay.
It's sold.
Are you able to look at that the sheet that you have on the other window and kind of show me just so I kind of see it in practice?
Yes.
I know it might seem obvious, but it'd be really helpful for me I don't know if you're able to add a couple rows and kind of show me how that works out in practice.
Yes, I can do that. Let me find I should have had this up, but I don't, my spreadsheet, and then I'll show you and we'll add the line items there because this is a PDF, so I can't add them, but I can do it on
I see. Gotcha.
Yes, I have it up. I just didn't download it out. I don't know. Wasn't thinking about it. Okay. 1 second, and then I should be able to pull it up here, and then I'll show you the breakdown of that.
Yeah, just even knowing that, again, I'm kind of naive about a lot of this stuff. So even just kind of thinking about the fact that the way that this would be implemented in practice would be kind of by creating a spreadsheet with these things in it. And then those would generate the percentages that we are going to put into the worksheet. Is that right?
Will you say that one more time? Sorry.
Sure. So there'd be kind of like possibly for my situation, at least, there would be an intermediate step of going from the P&L to a spreadsheet to break things out, or is this just the one that you've already provided us?
This is the one that I provided.
Okay.
So I'm going to make my own simultaneous situation here.
Cool. There you go. Nice.
Okay. So I'm concerned with the numbers. So if I'm doing this and I want to see, let's see, total revenue, I'm just going to change these numbers. 791. Total revenue. And then I just added these, inserted 2 new line items. We only had 1 for materials and subcontractors, which is fine, but I would add 2 more and do food supplies. packaging. And then I would just take your actual numbers here. So the 53, 815, 50 plus the 38, 54, 32 plus the 309, 28. So that I have the total. And then I can go in and see, how did I get this number? I forgot. Oh, it's the number from the P&L, and I added the one plus the other plus the third, which does not give me my total materials and subcontractors. So maybe for you, if I was looking at this, I would ask what the contractor expenses are. So are those startup costs for contractors that you had come in and do work and you won't have those costs again?
Correct.
Then we'll just disregard them because they'll have no bearing on our future budget making.
So do you have, right now, do you use any kind of contractors for anything, like somebody to mow the grass or anything like that?
No, I mean, that the things that I could imagine being contractor like would just be, I mean, we have people come in, like Silco comes in and checks our fire suppression system. Does that fall under contractors, or is that under building maintenance? Or is that does it matter as a distinction?
No, it doesn't matter.
Just the fact that we have people come in regularly and do things and pay
Yes.
them to do it?
Yeah. So I could put those, I mean, you could put them under contractors or put them in under an expense. I don't think it matters. Do you?
No, I think I'd probably put it in as a security expense
Yeah.
for either building maintenance or building security as an expense down below as operating expenses.
Okay. Yeah, because we have certain, there's some preventative maintenance that we do on various things in the restaurant. So those things are we don't really have otherwise. I mow the lawn.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yep.
So then, even though your historical data shows you have contractors, since you're new, we know that you're not going to have contractors.
Okay, great.
Great. So then I could do one for retail supplies. I want to see it specifically. And this is for us because we're using it to make decisions. So this means that we've taken into consideration the food supplies, restaurant food supplies, the retail supplies, the packing and disposables. We're not going to use the contractor number.
What's Annie Dawn's?
We've considered all coffee and we've considered retail food supplies, right? So the
Yeah.
only one not accounted for is Auntie Dawn's, which she's the pies, isn't she?
She's our pie baker, and she would go into the restaurant food supplies, I think, because we sell it as it's kind of a tough one. That's one of the ones I've been trying to figure out. Like, what's my margin supposed to be on this? Because we buy a pie and then we sell it from the POS. We have a separate category in the POS. So if we wanted to break it out and like exclude it from other sales, we could. But yeah, essentially, I guess consignment would be probably the area. And we will have more to add to that consignment category in the future.
Okay.
Other bakers that have been we have hired on, and other people that are doing consignment. So that's probably a good one to have.
Yes, I would keep her as a separate. Perfect. Okay. So then if I'm adding these, and I can send this to you actually, since I'm updating it, I'm
Cool.
having to adjust my calculations just a little bit because I added 2 new line items to it, which is fine. And we will make adjustments. So we're breaking out we have target allocation percentages of each of these categories. So like even this one that we have grayed out, I don't really want to gray these out because we have target allocation percentages even for these costs of goods sold. And for you, it's beneficial for you potentially to have another bank account where you put a percentage, this target percentage for your food supplies, or for all of these, the total of all of these percentages into one bank account, and it's the living budget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me pull this one over.
Did you have a suggestion about how I would imagine from getting to know Carrie a little bit more and more that you would want to have separate bank accounts for each one of those? Is that what you were going to say? I'm just curious.
No, I would put them all in one. I wouldn't
Put them on one? Okay.
I would think that would be too much if we.
Okay. But you could still, but that's a good idea because then I can look at, I mean, consignment would be easy. That should be really straightforward. It's we have a certain amount of sales. We have a certain percentage that we're getting of those sales, and that there
Right.
shouldn't be any discrepancies in there when it comes to retail supplies. And we can look to see
What do you
one
do
of the,
if you
I'm
buy,
sorry, go on.
what do you do, let's say if you buy like all these pies, and then are they yours? It doesn't matter if you can't sell them? Like if they go bad, what do you eat the cost or does that go back to her?
We would eat the cost and the pie, by the way. But that's the distinction we would make between retail supplies and consignment.
Okay,
Consignment is where somebody comes in, they load up our cooler with the stuff that they want. Whatever we sell, we keep 15% of it. We pay them, 85% or, something like that. When it comes to retail supplies, we're buying it outright. And if we don't sell it, then we bear the burden of the loss.
okay.
So we're switching it up a little bit, which is exactly what the workshop is designed to do because this is not a one size fits all situation. So we do care about the actual percentage, the consignment that you're paying is 1.43%. We could calculate that percentage for each of your cost of goods sold categories, but we care about the total amount that you're spending on each of these cost of goods sold because this is showing that historically for 2023, you've spent 43% on food costs, either retail supplies or consignment or coffee, packaging, and food supplies. So if we're going to move a percentage, it needs to at least be 42.43%. Round up to
Yeah, so
43.
it would have, the percentage actually was more than that for last year, just because you had those contractors on there. But with the contractors out, that's in there, just because you won't have contractors anymore. So this is like more realistic for you going forward.
Awesome. Okay. Yep. And that makes sense to me because we were wasting a ton of food all the time and we've changed that a lot. So hopefully it'll be, hold on. Hopefully it'll be good news when I get the next numbers together and get it a little bit closer on. So I think the quarterly assessment would be best. Hey, go sit down over here for a sec. Okay. I'll be back with you. I promise. Go. Shh.
Very sweet.
Family business here. Family business. It's official.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's great. Okay. So, man, I already just love the way that looks right now. So then to be able to, so I should be able to just using QuickBooks, kind of set up similar. I mean, I don't know if I have consignment in there. Hold on.
Yeah, I would make your QuickBooks mimic whatever.
Mimic this.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So you have overarching categories and you can keep your breakdown. Like you could keep Auntie Dawn's as a category of her own at 7306, but you could give her an overarching category called consignment, and then you could track specifically your consignment people.
That's a good idea. So you could make, what would it be? You could make
Auntie Dawn 7300.
Yeah, or make consignment.
Oh, yeah.
Make consignment 7300 and then do Auntie Dawn's as 7306 and then as a subcategory, and then all other subcategories that you have on consignment now this year, you can make a separate line item so that you're tracking each of those, but it gives you the total under consignment.
Gotcha.
Like,
Make a parent category that's consignment and then have these specific subcategories.
Yeah, just like your coffee is.
Perfect.
Okay.
And then it gives you your total coffee cost here. So it would do the same thing under consignment. It would give you all of them and then give you a total cost.
Okay, cool.
And you could do it for restaurant, parent category, subcategories, restaurant food supplies, packaging and disposables. You could do one for parent category retail and then retail supplies and then retail food supplies. And then coffee could go under restaurant, or it could stay its own
Mhm.
parent company. And then you could have a parent company for consignment with your vendors as
Yeah,
subcategories. Because it
Okay.
can be as long as you want.
right.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I guess for me, what I've been thinking is for me to actually get those numbers right now is I've been kind of thinking about using Square because I can pull up reports from categories that I've created in Square. But really, I should just get this all set up so that I can get it all done with QuickBooks. That's the way it really should be done.
You want
Okay.
information from Square,
Yes.
but all the information flows through to QuickBooks. So if there things happen outside of QuickBooks that just, I don't know, could be one-offs, could be transactions that are happening more than that, but Square is useful, and all the information from Square should make its way into QuickBooks. The reports that you pull from Square should match what you see in QuickBooks too, to some degree.
Yeah.
But then QuickBooks is the one where you're checking it against every single thing that comes in and out of the bank account or credit card or anything that's happening. So you should have that information in QuickBooks too,
Yeah.
is what I was trying to say.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, that sounds that should be the go-to. That's actually connected to my bank account, and it's not living in its own world outside of my real financial situation. So, okay, great.
Do you want us to go through the rest of those numbers on where you would find those?
If you think that it'd be helpful for the group, again, I don't want to dominate the this session for other people.
We really wanted to work with real numbers. So
great. Yeah. Then
it's show that it can be customizable to whatever business. So, somebody else may not need the cost to go broken down like that, like Katie did it. They may need it broke down a different way. So at least they can see an example of how easy it is to manipulate that spreadsheet that she created.
Yeah. Well, then I'm very much into continuing on with this if that's a good thing. Yeah. I just don't want to be like
no
greedy.
We appreciate you letting us work with your real numbers, because we definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the next big one is payroll expenses. So we discussed contractors, even though it's on the financial report and it was, real for last year. It has no bearing on 2024, so we leave it in the past. But payroll is a living, breathing thing, and it does have bearing in 2024, and we do want to see the historical payroll number. And we may or may not want to include it as a part of the operating expenses, depending on if that's in the best interest of your company. So we may want to create a separate bank account that is specifically for payroll, because the two biggest costs that you face are the food costs and the labor. In which case, we would want to look and see payroll needs to include everything that you offer, including your employer portion of your taxes, which you have here broken out, including all of the employees' hourly wages, including management wages, if anyone's on salary, including even software fees, I would say, because generally speaking, when you set up a payroll software, you use the same bank account that pays for the software fees as you use to actually run or direct deposit and for payroll wages. And then even tips, all of it. Benefits.
Yeah. So I want to clarify, you and Emma are not on payroll, right? You don't.
We're not on payroll. No. And another thing, when you say the software fees, it's like how much I pay for Gusto to use Gusto needs to be included in that.
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
Nitty gritty, it's technically included as an other operating expense because it's a bank fee. But the reality is, if you're going to create a separate bank account that takes care of payroll and anything related to payroll, normally when you set up Gusto, unless you were intentional at the beginning setting it up, you set it up so that even the fee comes out of the bank account where the payroll comes out of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I right now, for better or for worse, have all of those types of things, whether it's how much I pay for my POS or my payroll, under the dues and subscriptions. And I'm not sure if that was the right place to put it.
No, I think so if in theory that's a good place to put it, because it is a subscription fee. And then if you do open up a bank account, we just want to make sure that we need to consider that subscription cost and add it to the amount that we need.
Got it.
the payroll bank account. Because you do
Okay.
have fees here too, which you could put it under payroll fees. So you have two options.
I was gonna say,
Okay.
fee account, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Huh. Okay. I got to make sure I have that consistent all the way through. And that changes. The thing about that too is it's not a set amount because it changes with regard to how many employees I have. So if I hire somebody, it's another
True.
$6 a month. So it's something I have to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and so if you're not gonna do a separate bank account and you just want all of your operating expenses into one account, then it won't matter. Because it's gonna be part of your expenses anyway. So
I
just,
think that payroll needs to be separated out because it's such a key thing for me to keep an eye on that I just don't want it to get lost in the mix.
yeah,
Okay, so if I take the historical information, I care about every single thing that falls under this, and I'm putting the 60,580. Using that as our number here. Or the percentage. Oh, and then I want to just drag and drop. But I have none left. All right, I'll fill out the rest of our spreadsheet here in just a minute. I want to go through the real numbers. So the payroll percent, so you can see we had real revenue, which is everything after cost of goods sold of 82,774, and we have 60,580 of payroll. And I have multiple things on my screen, so I can't see the tops of every one of my categories, but we know that the total cost, your percentage of your payroll in comparison to your income is 42.13% of your total income, even considering the cost of goods sold. And we also care what it is in relation to the real revenue. So I will help fill this out in just a minute after we look at the rest of our operating expenses. So the rest of the operating expenses, then we don't need to break these out. You don't want to have separate bank accounts for everything. Too many bank accounts is too hard to keep track of. So even, I mean, building renovations may not follow you into 2024, or it may follow you in a little bit. You may have already done those things. Repairs and maintenance, you'll always have. Your insurance, supplies and materials. Is this one? So we have building, repairs and maintenance, and then we have supplies and materials related to food. And then what is supplies and materials 7,300 category?
Those would be and this is under that is so I'm not sure how I've broken those down because both of them seem like they could be like if I bought shelving that needs to go up in the building. So I need to make sure that I have those
yeah, you
consolidated or separated
might
properly.
click on that category, because when I pull that category up, it brings up Kroger's, Gordon Food Supplies. So some of these might
Okay.
actually be restaurant, like food.
Yeah.
costs that need to
Yeah. So some of this is going to be kind of Wild West, and that's something I should check, make sure I take a look at.
Yeah.
So
Which that
consolidate.
Yeah.
everyone's QuickBooks has these problems.
Yeah.
That's why you check and you check and you check, and then rogue transactions go in different categories, and you think, well, how are you there? Why are you there? And then you move them.
Yeah, I would even say maybe we want to get rid of that 7,300 category, because I don't know supplies and materials, what that would be. Because you even have cleaning supplies broken down. And it looked like everything in that category probably went up to your cost of goods. Or maintenance.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Because there is a supplies under cost of goods. So I would see where that would be really easy to pick the wrong one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there's kitchen supplies, right? There's like buying containers and that kind of thing. And then there's also purchasing a Metro rack for the cooler. That's a different thing. And then there's like shelving. Then there's like maybe buying something for the decor. So I'm not sure if all those things need to be just if it matters to break those out, or if it's like, hey, this is non-food purchases that are needed for the business.
Yeah, we could just name it something else then and keep that category.
Okay. And then then building and maintenance, repair and maintenance would be more, that to me then would sound more like contractor work. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Like, oh, if I pay somebody and I put something under that, so that would be more of a contractor kind of a thing.
Yeah, so that's any pest control, any
Okay.
maintenance, snow removal, all of that kind of stuff for the building outside,
Gotcha.
inside.
Okay. Yeah. Pest control, fire suppression. Okay. And probably,
You have to have your cooler worked on,
yep.
that kind of stuff.
Got not the materials, but the
Yeah.
labor kind of a thing. Okay.
Material too, if you had to buy material, like your fuel
Okay.
that you buy for the lawn.
Okay.
Yeah, just know if
Okay.
you buy shelving or anything for the kitchen that's over $2,000, it needs to go on the balance sheet, not as an expense.
Okay.
2,500, right?
2,500
Yeah.
is what the IRS wants.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But you can always move these around. Right now, we'll just add them all in under operating expenses. But then once you get your P&L finalized for 2023, you can go in and redo these numbers and it will populate the percentages for you.
Okay. Yeah. And I remember we talked about how to move those around. I can, if I've already categorized them, I can go into the chart of accounts and actually just change what,
Yes.
like where they are, what they are. Okay, cool. Much easier than doing it piecemeal.
Yes.
So this is the important category for you in terms of percentages, because this is the percentage that will actually, some of this is in theory, and then there's the practicality side, and this is the column that's the practicality. So we're using real numbers over here, and we're being critical in the numbers that we're putting into this as actual, because we want to know what the actual percentage could be for 2024. And so we're excluding some numbers from 2023, and we're not even putting them on the spreadsheet. We don't want them to be a part of the percentage at all. Building renovations is one that I would not include in your operating expense for this and put it on the spreadsheet. And this column,
Okay.
this is the percentage that if you create a bank account in which to have a living budget for cost of goods sold, you're going to use this percentage. Because,
Okay.
and maybe if you have enough to add a little bit of buffer, add a little bit of buffer, make it 45%. This is going to be the percentage that if you open up a bank account specifically to have a living budget for payroll, you're going to use this percentage, 42.13, and add a little bit of a buffer if you have it, because you have been historically, and as you enter more information, you have the information for 2024, and you change your actual numbers in this column, these may adjust a little bit and they're tied together. But this is what you've been spending. So this is what you want to set yourself up for success. And this will be your real percentage into those categories. So it'd be 45 to one, 45 to the other. And then, I have 10% left for other things. So, and if that, and already we're starting to dive in critically to what the other numbers are and what they should be and have to be, and creating a budget, because if 45% is for all of cost of goods sold and then payroll is 45%, how much of a percentage and what have you been spending on other operating expenses, not including building renovation, because that is a one-time.
Right.
Yeah, and we know last year, I mean, this is only 6 months out of the year, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So, we really
Yep.
do need the 2024 numbers too.
Yeah.
So that we have a good year's worth of, because that I'm sure looks totally different than last year looked.
Gosh, I hope so. No, I know it does. I know it does, because
Once you get those, you can run a report by date. So you can run it from the date you open to now and get.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And I will be able, and I'm under a big time constraint to get those Q1 numbers sorted out. and I'll be doing it the right way. So then that will, so when I do, so let's say we have put this in, when you do take like say last year's and then now I have this year's, do you average them or how is it that they go into this plug and play?
I would either average them.
You had another spreadsheet for that, right? That had all the years.
I did, yes. So let me pull up my
Yeah,
second
which I think you should
spreadsheet.
have. There was another one that has all the years that you put each year in. Here.
It's just a lot of data up above. Oh, where is it? There it is. Which I can copy and paste this into the other spreadsheet too, actually.
Mhm.
So what I would do is you have 2023, but since you only have 6 months of 2023, I would take the information that is pertinent without like building renovations and contractors. Those are not pertinent. Don't include those. And do 2023 and it's, July, it's 6 months. So even 2023 has a run rate of what would have been spent if you had done the whole year. 2024 definitely has a run rate because we're only partway through the year. So if you do it through May, then you're going to, this is the actual information for I did it through April, first 4 months of the year. And then I did a run rate of what, if I had exactly the same situation and I changed nothing, would happen to me by the end of the year of 2024.
Is
And
a
then-
run rate, just to clarify, a projection based on the current information?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I just want to make sure.
That's a good question.
Yeah, and then this, however many years you have, if you just have the 2 years, then this gives you the average that you're going to put into the other spreadsheet.
Okay, there's something about that when I think about what would be, and you correct me if this would be not the way to approach it, but I feel like even if I were to take from say, the first of the year, just the information of this year so far, seems like it'd be a much more accurate than entering in the 2023 information, except for the fact that it would be, if I were to be setting that money aside, I think I'd be surpassing my expectations when it comes to, I wouldn't be using all of the money, say, in the payroll. Like if it says that I'm running 42%, I know I'm not running that right now. Because that's something I can actually see. I know I'm running closer. I've been under 30 for the past 4 months. So maybe that's just good news. Maybe I stick with that information and I go, oh, cool. Actually, I'm not using all that money. Now it's time to adjust. And then I get to have that positive feedback rather than setting up really, difficult goals for myself. So I don't know. What do you say about that when it's like this beginning point of the business?
I would say after you get your QuickBooks all up to date and it's, up to date, hopefully through June, let's see what the numbers are comparison this year to last year and see which we should work with. I would be interested to see what the numbers actually are and then come up with a game plan for the percentages.
Okay. And I do see that it's after 10 o'clock. It's like 3 after right now. So I want to be respectful of your time and make sure that I don't push you guys too much on this. So this has been incredibly helpful. That's so awesome. I mean, actually, I can't believe I have this time to sit down with you and have you work through this. It'd be, there's a lot to it, especially with this business with a lot of moving parts. And so I think that I just need to keep plugging away, getting those numbers right. But having this resource to turn back to and look at is going to be really huge for me. So I want to say thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm glad we were able to do it. I'll send you the spreadsheet that we've adjusted a little bit so you can use that if you want.
That's so cool. I really appreciate it. And then I'll probably you'll probably see me tomorrow and pop in and say hi.
And just remember, next Thursday's 4th of July, so we won't be here, so it'll be the following week.
Okay. Yeah, great. And I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July if I don't talk to you beforehand. And we are closed. So then I'm going to enjoy it myself.
4th of July. Great.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Have a good day.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.